So welcome everyone, welcome to Raw Live. Let me introduce you to our guest today. You must have heard, or some of you must have heard the saying, when life throws lemons at you, make lemonade. Well, how does one really do that? Our guest today is a living example of pure grit and determination of getting her life back on lane when it went off track. Embracing the blows that life was throwing at her like a phoenix rising from the ashes, she reclaimed her life. Our guest is a lawyer by profession and is a happiness ambassador by choice. She joins us on Raw Live to serve and support you. We welcome the graceful Shilpa Bhasin Mehra to the show. Welcome, Shilpa. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, Rohit, for inviting me. It's great to be on your show.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I promise you that we will do something different with yours like we did with the previous lawyer. We'll go into what we call is rapid fire questions. Are we ready for this?
Well, I have to confess, Rohit, that we as lawyers are taught to analyze, weigh the pros and cons. So I've never done this. But sure, carry on.
Okay, so let me do this and see what happens with your answer. So here's the first question. You claim to be a lawyer, but really, are you a liar?
I am a lawyer who can be a liar to protect the interests of my client, if need be.
Okay, so here's the next question. You're just going to fall into this now. So does that mean you will become unethical in your ways?
I will do whatever to protect my client. And after that, to redeem my sins, I will go for a Ganga Snan.
So for people who are not aware of what Ganga Snan is, it's the holy river in India where the Hindus go and they wash away their sins, you could say that. Okay, so next question. Why are lawyers so complicated in their ways?
I know, I totally agree with you. I think especially for us Indians, it's our long colonial legacy that we have, from the big era and that language, which is a jargon to most people. But I think we're getting there. Now, I think our clients understand us. When I'm an advocate of simple English. The idea is to communicate and the people must comprehend us. That's the most important thing. So we are getting there.
Okay. You are into contract law.
Yes, contract law as a part of corporate law.
Okay, as a part of as a part of corporate law.
Yeah.
So, are you what's the word I'm looking at? Are you a better lawyer than the lawyers who stand in front of the judge because you are focused on contracting?
No, well, can't say that at all. Those people are called litigation lawyers, the ones who go to court and who argue before the judge. I am a corporate lawyer. I think, it's like you need everything. So the client needs you to go and fight the cases in court, and the client needs you to make the contracts. So I don't think it's a matter of, who's better. It's whatever the need and circumstances is. Everybody plays a useful role.
Have you done any kind of litigation law in the past?
Never.
So have you ever worn those funny robes and wigs and?
Fortunately not.
Okay. What's the most difficult contract you've ever done? You don't have to mention client names.
Oh, yes. Well, I worked in-house for a marine company, and those contracts were very complex. I mean, very long, too much details, very high value. So you really had to be all there.
Okay. Here's another question to the lawyer fraternity. Do lawyers make a fool out of the public?
No, I don't think so. And I'm so sorry you have this concept.
I'm just asking questions because these are people which ask about lawyers.
Oh, no. And nowadays, Rohit, thanks to Google, everybody's so smart. I have come across clients who know so much about it. That's actually daunting to be dealing with them. They're very, very smart nowadays.
Okay. So here's the next thing for you. We'll go into your topic, which was all battles are not legal. So before we get deeper into it, Just a little bit of background about us, about yourself to the public. How did you get to where you are? Just about 2-3 minutes on that.
Okay, so I'm born, brought up in Delhi. I'm the youngest of my four sisters. Mm, a beautiful childhood. If I had to change anything, I wouldn't. Very, very blessed. Great parents. So much love from everywhere. Fortunately, I was good in my studies, so I could get away with all my naughtiness, because when you get good marks as a student, a lot is forgiven. Did my law, got married, came to Dubai, have two boys, uh, worked with a local law firm over here, then with a shipping company, and lots of extracurricular activities. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Okay. So came over here, your boys, everything, and then something happened. What happened that suddenly you were declared dead?
Yeah, I know.
But you're alive.
Yeah.
And you're not even a vampire. There's daylight coming in.
Thank you. Yes, very happy to be alive. So this was 2003, 27th of February. I'd gone to watch a tennis match with a friend. A very bad headache. Uh, Next day, could not move from the bed. So much weakness, fever, terrible, terrible headache. And within 48 hours, I slipped into a coma. So, I mean, if you ask me what really happened, it happened so fast that forget about me. The doctors also couldn't figure out. It was just like lights out. So
Okay.
it was crazy. And I believe 40 days in coma on a ventilator and lots of tubes. And then 2.5 years paralyzed on the bed, waist down paralyzed on the bed. Oh, yeah, that was all 2003 to 2005. The meningitis attack that happened. If I tell you the name of it, you will not believe it. It's called, okay, let me try. Acute disseminated encephalomyelopolyradicular neuropathy.
Uh,
When I read my discharge summary, I thought the doctor had forgotten to put a full stop. Because it went to 1.5 lines. It was so crazy. So yeah, so that was the long form of basically meningitis that had happened, and that moved me to a state of coma. And yes, and then waist down paralyzed because that part of the brain had got affected.
okay. So you're paralyzed now, and what was your reaction to that? I mean, firstly, okay, you're in that 40-day coma, and then you come out, you're in paralysis. So what was your reaction when that all happened, when you came out of that coma and this news was broken out to you?
Okay, so my family who doesn't stay here, they all were around me when I opened my eyes. So I could make out that something is very wrong because my earlier recollection was I'm in the house with a bad headache. Then it was a complete blackout, so I don't remember. So when I'm seeing these people and that big ventilator, lots of tubes, everybody with a very worried look, I knew something is really wrong. And they were like half smiles, the shaky smiles with tears. They all were there. My dad, my husband, my sisters, they were there. And nobody was going to tell me really what was happening. So I was trying to move a little bit, but my lower part just wouldn't move. So nobody really told me what has happened, because probably they were so scared, they were so apprehensive of how I might react, kind of a thing. So it was actually nobody telling me anything. It was me figuring it out for myself what is wrong. My little toe, my knee tried to turn, nothing was moving. Fingers, hands, very feebly at first, they were moving. So it was nobody telling me really. It was me finding out myself by little movements.
Okay. And when you finding what was your emotional reaction? What was the feelings which came out at that particular time?
I was very shocked. Been a very active person all my life. So I really couldn't believe what was going on. But I don't know why I'm just such a die-hard optimist. I thought, okay, it's been this long period and I haven't moved. So it's this acute weakness or acute fatigue or whatever you want to call it. of the muscles, and it's going to just bounce back,
Hmm.
you know. So I never really thought of it that, oh my God, this such a big thing has happened. And of course, my family always around me smiling, didn't let me feel that anything is wrong.
Hmm. So, were there moments in your time during that time when the paralysis was there that you wanted to give up?
Uh, Very few.
Hmm.
Very few. I think it's, you know, what happens is, Rohit, sometimes you have to put your own feelings on the back burner. When
Hmm.
there are people putting so much love, effort into your recovery,
Hmm.
well, what your personal feelings are, if you want to say, you know what, hell with it, you can't do it simply because your loved ones are putting everything into making you stand again.
Hmm.
So, I mean, if the fleeting thought came, it was like shunned out very fast.
Okay. So the support system was very strong around you, so that always uplifted you at that in that time.
Totally. It's like God up there and these people on the ground.
The
Full
angels
marks.
were with you.
Absolutely.
Now, when you got out of hospital,
Hmm.
I mean, how long did it take you to recover from your paralysis?
Okay, so I was first over here in the Dubai hospital, then in the Delhi hospital for 6 months.
Hmm.
And recovery from the paralysis, over 2.5 years, I was on the bed. So there was physio happening every day.
Hmm.
And there was like these little things. First, we call it passive physio because your muscles have no power to move really. So my physiotherapist was actually sweating it out more. I was like
Hmm.
not doing anything. And then it was like stand for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and that 1 minute, and that one step, and the 10 steps. So it was like such a long process. And in September 2005, when I got back, it was still like with a walker and just going like to the bathroom or from one room to the other, you know. So it was very restrictive. But I think the good part was that the brain was fine. So I'm very like grateful for that, that the
Hmm.
brain was fine. And as long as I could do the small things that were essential to be done, that little bit of, I would say, limited mobility, even that was enough to keep me going.
Okay. And Shilpa, in this time, how was your husband coping with this? How were your kids coping with all of this?
I think I'm just surrounded by amazing people. So there, my kids were 3 and 6. So I think ignorance is bliss and innocence has its beauty. So
Hmm.
they just thought that, you know, mom is not well. That not well was like, it covered everything, you know.
Hmm.
Oh, and so they were okay. They were just happy that, you know, she's there and because I could talk and I could still help them with their homework, you know,
Okay.
and maybe draw some things for them and, you know, do their projects, those drawings. So they were quite happy with that. They were not very concerned because their life was pretty much still going on, you know, the play school type, that was okay. My husband's been a pillar of strength. I mean, whatever they were going through, you know, they still kept a very brave front in front of me.
Hmm.
So I got all the love, support, encouragement that I needed.
So the love, support, and encouragement just lifted you up, Shilpa. That's what it was kept on doing for you.
Constantly. Absolutely.
Now, when did you start to work again? Because in these 2 years, were you working, or did you, after you recovered, you started working?
Okay, so you know, work was actually the last thing on my mind, you know, when
Hmm.
you're laid up in that kind of a situation. But they were one of the assignments I did from my former employers. My like commercial director wrote to me, so Shilpa, if you're up to it, could you have a look at a few contracts for us? So I did that work. I got paid for it. I was over the moon that, you know, I cannot get up and, you know, I can still do work. It was a major, I would say, morale booster for me. And when I came back in 2005, I got in touch with my clients generally to tell them that, you know, I'm alive, I'm back in Dubai, sort of a thing. And if you have any work. So they were like, you know, those random assignments from my old clients that started to flow in. So nothing like a full-fledged thing. But
Hmm.
yes. I mean, to keep me going, to keep the brain engaged. It was wonderful.
Okay. And Shilpa, while this all was happening, um, where did the idea of the book come from? So now it's going into its third edition.
Yes, that's true. Okay, so how did the idea come? Okay, so I have Rohit always been a laptop addict. Okay,
Hmm.
even when I was the fittest and the most mobile person, I mean, my laptop was always on. So what happened was in 2003, when I was laid up in bed in Apollo in Delhi, my dad walked in one day with a laptop, and he said, "You must be bored, because how much can people like be around you all the time?" Although they were there in most of my waking hours, but still. And I like looked at him like, laptop. I don't have the strength. I don't have the energy. Who's going to look at it and all? But it just started a flow.
Hmm.
When you open something that you've been used to, the brain just kind of starts to rewire and rethink again. And a lot of encouragement, and also my neurologist who said, that Shilpa, we in our white coat are talking to patients. They always tell us, Doc, you don't understand. You have not been through what I'm going through.
Hmm.
So he said, if you as a patient write, they will listen to you. And my family also said, of course you must write, and everything. So it just started actually like a personal diary. I
Okay.
was thinking that we'll print 10, 20 copies, like those photocopies which you
Hmm.
bind. People can just read it. I
Yeah.
never thought it would get published. That's why it's like your show. It's raw. It
Hmm.
is raw. Like I've got a little bit of Hindi happening there. I've got maybe some like chero chairi happening there. But I was just writing. There were some quotations, some jokes.
Hmm.
I never knew it was going to get published, and I had a feeling you're going to ask about it. So I got one over
Oh,
here and
very
shared.
nice. All battles aren't legal, and that's exactly what we're talking about here.
So that's what happened in 2005 December. They published it. It was all my dad's doing. He
Hmm.
thought, we must publish it. It is so inspiring. It can help people. So I was quite apprehensive about it because I had not written it from the point of view of it ever getting out to the public.
Hmm.
Otherwise, maybe I would have made it more like refined, but it was just me talking.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's how it happened.
So, for the people who have read your book, any particular chapter or anything which really comes out for them, which they say to you, Shilpa, that really, really resonates. I can really feel what's going on. Is there something in there?
Yes, I got two, three feedbacks like this. One was actually from the Indian Council General. He called me for a radio show, uh, and the chapter that resonated most with him was on financial independence. And he
Okay.
said, coming from India, our girls, we have to encourage them to be financially independent because
Hmm.
I'd written that in my book, how when laid up in bed, I could not do anything. I had to ring the bell for everything, but I could still read, write, review a contract. So that feeling, that like morale booster that it is just so important. So
Hmm.
he had in fact announced it on the radio show that I encourage all the girls, to be competent, have the capacity to be financially independent. So
Hmm.
that was one, and another one I would say taking the Mickey out of the doctors and the nurses in one chapter. And because they just are so like intimidating at times, and they're not very, I would say, sensitive to the patient and to the patient's families.
Hmm.
Okay, although my doc was a dream, but there were some other people I would hear, they were not, they would just say it. You
Yeah.
don't know, the patient is already suffering, the family is so stressed. Can you be a little nice about it? So I wrote that in a chapter, and they were like, I got quite a few calls on that one. He said, I loved it. These people really need to hear it. So yeah, that was another one. And a very sweet thing my niece had told me before actually the book got published. She'd come to me. Her name is Swati. She'd come to me and she says, Shilpa Masi, when I'm reading this, it was a manuscript at that time. I thought I'm talking to you. I said, well, because I was actually talking to myself when I was writing the book. I'm not an author. I don't
Hmm.
know A to Z of writing as such. So I said I was talking to myself, and in a way, Rohit, I'm glad because the language is just so simple that
Hmm.
anybody can read it and anybody can understand
Hmm.
it. Yeah, those were
Especially
something
coming
that,
from a lawyer.
but I was not writing a contract. That's why.
Hmm.
Yes.
So, so if you look at the current situation which most people are in,
Mhm.
and taking what you've gone through, and you've created this book, and it's gone into the third edition, it is going into the third edition as well. Um, what is that? So let's look at women, for example. I'm not going to use the word women empowerment. I just think that word is used quite a lot. How can we? Let's just take women for the. How can we encourage women in this situation to be bold and uh, take the situation uh, with a lot of strength? What can we do? What can you
Well,
tell?
Rohit, I'm actually amazed, very impressed with the ladies, I must say,
Mm,
because I see it on social media,
mm,
how they are out there, whether
mm,
it is baking, cooking,
mm.
desserts, pickles, chutneys, clothes. I mean, people have come out from the woods. They always have the talent. It's not that
Yes.
they want to bake and cook in overnight, but how they want to use this time.
Mm,
Everybody's in a lockdown. People are very bothered about hygiene and
yep.
everything. How they are there and they're doing things. I think it's like a woman, how they say, she's like a tea bag. When you put her in hot water, you come to know how strong she is. So
Mm,
I think COVID is at hot water right now. But they were
okay.
always strong. They were always talented, you
Yes.
know. But this has just got them going.
Mm,
And I mean, I'm a fan of women because I think they wear so many hats. Being
yes.
a wife, being a mother, being a professional sister, daughter. I mean, we've got like 1,000 relationships, and still they manage to do everything so well. And in COVID, I love that joke that came about. He said, forget about the doctors and scientists. The women will find the cure for it because they're dealing with the husbands and children at home. So, they're going to be the first ones to find the cure for it. So I think they're really out there and doing it. I'm just so proud of them.
So it's interesting you say that. When you said that, the first thing that came into my mind is the spouse, the woman saying, "He's at home as well now. Why can't he go to work?"
You know how it is.
Um, uh, so on the other side, what I'm seeing is, let's take the men, for example. They lose it. Okay, women have lost their job, men have lost their job. But there's this innate thing with a lot of men that they're the provider. They're the provider for the family, the provider for their loved ones. And this situation has arrived and they feel very uh, disconnected with everything. It's like something's been taken away from them, that they're no longer a man because they can no longer provide for their family. What can you tell them to move out of that thought process, that feeling?
Okay, I think, Rohit, this is a time to reinvent.
Hmm.
Okay, first we used to have Darwin's theory of survival of the fittest. I think now it is survival of the most adaptive.
Hmm.
So if you have lost your job, obviously keep the search on, maybe develop few more skills, be
Hmm.
open to more opportunities.
Hmm.
If this is not working, if like supposing everything is online nowadays, so
Hmm.
you had a kind of a retail or a very office-based job, what
Yep.
is it that you can do? So it's thinking out of the box, obviously
Hmm.
you don't give up. I mean, life has its ups and downs. We're having a down period right now, so
Hmm.
be it. So you don't give up. You keep your antennas on all the time, and you're
Hmm.
always looking around. And I'm sure, I mean, we've had, we call it in our legal terms, force majeure. We've
Yep.
had many force majeures earlier. We will get through this one too. So just
Hmm.
hang in there.
Hmm. In the case of people who are going through like businesses closing, they're going into legal challenges. This could be, let's just take the UAE because the law is somewhat different to other parts of the world. Where can they go for that guidance in terms of, my business is closed, I owe people X amount of money, I don't know even if I can renew my visa. What can those people do?
Well, I have to tell you, Rohit, that we get so many webinars, which are actually nowadays free of cost. Whether
Hmm.
it's like Dubai Chamber of Commerce, SMEs, whether
Hmm.
you have professional firms who are giving you very good free advice on
Hmm.
what to do, how to do it. Some of them, of course, have their, marketing angle, but some
Hmm.
of them is just pure neutral advice. So
Hmm.
that's why we just have to be aware of what is going on, aware of what is closing down, what are the opportunities, and then it's a time to like respond to it. We don't
Hmm.
have to react is a flight and fight uh,
Hmm.
you know thing. We don't have to do that. We have to respond. We have
Hmm.
to weigh everything, up our skills if that's required, and then respond accordingly. But there's a lot of information that's
Hmm.
going around. We just have to be aware and accept and respond to it.
Okay. So you use the word aware. So I hear many people. It doesn't matter if it's a lawyer. It doesn't matter if it's a speaker. It doesn't matter if it's someone in business. They always use this word. You need to be aware. What does it mean to be aware?
Okay, it means actually to be aware is to keep your eyes open, metaphorically also,
Okay.
and to be receptive.
Okay.
Sometimes we are just such closed people that
Hmm.
we are looking, seeing, but we will not be absorbing. We're like
Okay.
a cup of tea, absolutely full. I mean,
Hmm.
at least you've got to be half full for something to flow in, you
Hmm.
know? So when you're aware, you are basically receptive. You are looking at things, you're absorbing them, and at the same time analyzing what like works for you.
Hmm.
So that, according to me, is being aware. That I'm aware of the situation. These are the drawbacks.
Hmm.
This is the advantages. This
Hmm.
could work for me. So it's like it's like a full deal. It's a small word, but there's a lot that goes into it.
Hmm. So you've got so what I'm hearing is the awareness is being open. Not having your blinders or that like the horse has the blinder over
Exactly.
there, expanding those across. And then you said you need to respond. What do you mean by now you've got the awareness and now you need to respond? What do you mean by that?
Okay, so respond is a word that you have a situation.
Hmm.
So you have studied it, you have analyzed it, and then what we say respond appropriately or
Hmm.
as like applicable sort of a thing. In a given
Yeah.
set of circumstances, what is the best situation? What is your best response that will work in your interests? You
Yeah.
know, so that's why awareness is always the first step.
Hmm.
And then you respond means after studying it, what is the best way forward? That is your response. The way we said, you put your best foot forward. So
Okay.
this is your response.
Okay. So, and this is the kind of, so when you were in your moment of being in paralysis, was this what you used for yourself, that awareness and the respond, the awareness and the respond?
Yes, first of all, literally and metaphorically, I'm a die-hard optimist.
Yeah.
Okay, so I always thought I'm going to overcome that. Then there
Hmm.
was awareness. Okay, like this is the situation. This is what I'm in. What is it that I can do about it?
Hmm.
So whether it was like writing a book, whether it was not letting people around me get stressed, because I think already I had caused so much stress without really wanting to, but I had, I had made them pray to all the gods possible. So it was like, what can I do to make things better?
Hmm.
I mean, I cannot physically contribute, but can I
Hmm.
emotionally or like mentally contribute?
Hmm.
And like people think that I can write. So is there something I can do for you?
Hmm.
So that I think when you're out there helping people and you're trying to give out happiness,
Hmm.
it comes back to you. So that was all the upliftment that I needed. So that was my response to people, and it helped me immensely as well.
Okay. So you use the word happy, happiness. So you are a happiness ambassador by choice.
Yes,
How come?
absolutely. I was a little scared of that word, Rohit, because we are so used to a certificate, a qualification, some like sort of accreditation. So now this, whether it was my family, my friends, my doctor, they started calling me happiness ambassador. So then I was like, I'm not used to it because I'm so used to getting a degree and then being called something.
Yeah.
So, but this was their whatever, their love, their encouragement, or their feelings, which I
Hmm.
completely respect. So, happiness is something I really believe in. You
Hmm.
know, it comes like from the core, and then because I was so fascinated by the concept, I studied it as well. I did a course
Okay.
from Yale on it, and it was really nice because it was a kind of a validation of what I was thinking. When
Okay.
you have the top psychologists and neurologists and social scientists also kind of saying, yes, this works, you
Hmm.
know, it makes you feel very good. So the happiness ambassador thing was, I would say, really inherent in me. And then I just probably added on to it. Uh, and people just call me that. I think they're very, very kind.
Mhm. So Shilpa, as a happiness ambassador, one of the things which you do is this your own show called Happiness Chat. I think that's what it is. What led to that, and when did you start that?
Okay, so what led to it? This was also another respond mechanism that you just earlier referred to. The COVID times, everybody so depressed, kind of.
Yep.
Now, I personally was not depressed, Rohit, because I have been paralyzed on the bed for 2.5 years.
Yep.
So I was like on a 6 foot bed for so long, and I was not depressed.
Hmm.
So I really wanted to tell people that, there are so many things that you can still do. So get out of it. So it was in March. It was just a thought. And I said, it's just a Zoom call. Whoever can join, it's fine. And,
Hmm.
it'll be nice. And it started to invite people as like guest speakers, and they came. So it was really nice. It was it's a chat because, like, again, I said, I'm not a professor, I'm not a teacher, I'm nobody.
Hmm.
It's just a chat. So please, you're welcome to come. I'll share my thoughts and very happy to hear yours. So it was a very nice thing. I'm really enjoying it. We've had, I
Hmm.
think, five so far. We do it twice in a month,
Hmm.
and the response has also been very good. So I'm
Hmm.
very pleased with it.
Okay. What kind of topics do you talk about during this happiness chat? What do you cover?
Okay, so the first one was just like introducing myself because it's a Zoom call, so many people can join in. So a little bit of my life story about it, and we had my doctor, my like neurologist who treated me
Hmm.
also gave that. Then it was first 1 or 2 sessions was just like, what is happiness? What does happiness mean to you?
Okay.
So this is what it means to me, and what does it mean to you?
Hmm.
So it started off with something very basic, also like a hot cup of tea or a nice tub bath or
Yep.
watching the raindrops or like a walk in nature
Hmm.
and something. So that was, I thought, the beauty of it, because you can find happiness in so many small things.
Hmm.
Even in COVID, even in lockdown, you
Hmm.
just like look around. Again, you just have to be aware, you
Hmm.
know, and it's there for you to appreciate it.
Hmm.
So we started off with the basic concept of happiness. Then we did one happiness in work,
Okay.
you know, and my last one was actually a very powerful one, happiness in spite of challenges,
Hmm.
because it was to tell people that there are people who deal with challenges every day.
Yep.
Someone who's got, disabled, we call them in the Y, people of determination,
Hmm.
autistic, so many problems people have and how they still deal with it. And you
Hmm.
were just talking about COVID right now. I mean, your only problem could be, okay, economic. I do understand that.
Hmm.
But it's not the end of the world.
Hmm.
There's so much we can learn from people like them. If
Hmm.
they can still go on and on every day, push themselves, motivate themselves, I'm sure we guys can do it.
Hmm.
So I like to just choose on these kind of topics which are very, I would say, are time related,
Hmm.
because people want to know about right now, what can we do? See,
Yep.
when everything is hunky dory, they don't want to know about that because we're not having a hunky dory period,
Yep.
you know. So it's something to do with that. So I think it's going well. People are kind of enjoying it. So
So your two children, what do they take of you as being the happiness ambassador? What is their take on it? I mean, they've grown up now and do the same. They say, what do they say about mummy being happiness ambassador?
okay, the only like response is, oh God, come on. oh God. You know, kind of a thing. So it's like, I don't know, you probably have to ask them. They're like inner feelings, you know, whether they are happy or proud. I don't know. They
Yeah.
haven't told me yet.
Mm.
But I must say they are my best critics.
Okay.
Like, you know. So when I do the chat, no, you should have asked this question. That question was like not called for. And you know, it's really cute. They're 20 and 24.
Yep.
But I'm very, very receptive because they give me very neutral and very critical advice, which nobody else will. Others
Yeah.
will still be nice and sweet and say, yeah, yeah, it was very good and all. So I especially like to take advice from them because it is most, I think, pertinent.
Hmm. Okay. Interesting. And what have you taught your children about when you're hit by adversity? Obviously, they saw you, mum, on the bed. Um, but through the years, they've been growing up and you've been taking care of them. When they come across some challenging adversity times or what we define as problems or issues, what do you say to them? How do you get them to just take that small step to move forward?
Well, Rohit, very honestly, I believe that people should see, observe, and learn, you know,
Hmm.
more than basically talking because
Yes.
words and that coming from mom is like falls on deaf ears mostly. So, but I never, I never like let them dwell too much into it. Just like I don't, because I
Yes.
feel what you concentrate, you manifest further. So I
Hmm.
don't believe in that concept. So you have a problem. What can we do about it? I mean,
Okay.
I've always been a, you know, a solution finder. I
Hmm.
cannot concentrate and think too much about a problem. I mean, that's happened. So now what? So
Hmm.
when they tell me also, so even now their thinking is pretty much like that, that okay, this has happened. Okay, I've lost my college ID. What can I do? You know, these small, small things that
Yep.
happen. Or my mobile, or my this, or something or
Hmm.
the other. Computer, oh God, the
Hmm.
screen is jammed or something. Okay, so what can we do? Find this, do this, you
Hmm.
know. So it's basically, I write articles also for a lawyer's magazine, and it's about anybody who picks up a magazine. If you're at the airport also and you pick it up, you're not a lawyer. It's like the title is also very straightforward. It's like deal with it. You know,
Hmm.
you have a problem, deal with it. Don't
Hmm.
keep talking about it. Don't keep thinking. Don't keep discussing your problem. Think, what can you do about it? And get cracking. So these are just my very patent things, like deal with it, get cracking, move on.
Okay. So deal with it, get on with it, move on. Doesn't forget about the results, just keep moving on.
Yes, I
Okay.
think so.
Um, and so we're going to come closer to the close of the interview. Um, I remember you connecting me through LinkedIn. This was a couple of months ago, and then uh, you did my workshop, that online workshop on compassion, and then we started talking, and we spoke about gratitude during that conversation the other day. What is and we hear a lot of people talk about gratitude, and yet some of the actions which they are not really coming up from a place of gratitude. How do we actually really truly, from your perspective, from your knowledge, from your learning, implement gratitude for ourselves?
Gratitude, you know, I did one course on Reiki, and it
Hmm.
was like, you know, the attitude of gratitude. And what I saw, all the women who were there, I mean, most of them were, you know, ladies, they would come out and start trip, 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 trip. And I was like, my God, just 5 minutes before you were like in a stage of, you know, nirvana and practicing. So it is like anything, Rohit, like you brush your teeth every day, you have to be grateful. You have to practice gratitude every day. It's just the way those exercise freaks, they have to go to the gym every day. You know,
Hmm.
you have to practice it, you have to feel it. And I would even encourage just the way you had done your course on, you know, compassion. There's so many courses like the one I did. If you actually study the concept of happiness, gratitude is the basis. It's called it the basic mantra of happiness.
Hmm.
If you're grateful, you will automatically be counting your blessings. You will automatically
Hmm.
be in a happier state of mind, you
Hmm.
know. So even for the people who think that, oh my God, this is all jargon, I mean, study it. It's a science. People have done
Hmm.
it. they've got statistics to prove it.
Hmm.
So it is such a win-win situation. I don't find any like flip side of it, really.
Hmm.
I'm a huge believer of it. And
Hmm.
my one line, which I live with, is I'm too blessed to be stressed. I
Oh,
live in an attitude of gratitude.
I'm too blessed to be
So
stressed.
that's me. Yes.
Okay, I'm too blessed to be stressed. I really like that. So, for, so what's happened during this time, especially this past couple of months? There's
Mm-hmm.
certain real characteristics come out of certain people, which were hidden or not really there, and what we label as what most of us label as being negative. How does one deal with those people? Because I'm sure they are in your family, or they're your loved ones, or your friends, or even your colleagues. How do you deal with people who you see as coming across as negative?
Rohit, it's very amazing that you haven't read my book, but there's a chapter on this. Okay, nothing to do with COVID. It's life,
Yes,
because
yes,
everywhere there will be these negative people.
yeah.
They are such downers, and my I would say response to this is build a wall. And you
Hmm.
don't physically build like a wall of China, but when someone is going on and on talking to me, I kind of switch off. I don't want to absorb that person's negativity. So I'll be
Hmm.
sitting there, I'll be nodding my head, I'll be smiling. I'm not really listening.
Hmm.
Okay? So one is if one can, you know, restrict interaction with these people to the least. Okay,
Hmm.
that's like the physical interaction. So you're not absorbing any vibes also from them. But there are
Hmm.
some people who you can't. Like if
Hmm.
your boss is a negative person, you go to office every day, you have to build a wall and you have to have this bounce back mechanism.
Hmm.
So you're feeling a little down because of what has happened, then whether it's just listening to a favorite song, just seeing a nice photograph, just something to get you back into your space of happiness. I would say that. Because
Hmm.
when I was laid up, Rohit, I could not even say, excuse me, I want to go to the bathroom, because I was just laid up. I could just blink. And there were still people who would be coming and talking to me about their problems. I mean, I find them mind blowing, because here you're talking to a person who doesn't know if she's ever going to even stand, and you want to talk about your health issues, or whatever issues, that your maid has run away, or your mother-in-law said something to you, or whatever. You know, they were just so amazing. I had to sometimes control my laugh, because I was in a state of shock. Uh, so I would just, be sitting over there, but you can't let people affect you. I think this is also something that we need to learn. I wish they would teach people in school. There would be less of, suicides. It's your own coping mechanism, because
Hmm.
life will always throw challenges at you.
Hmm.
Right now, it's the COVID. It could be something else. It happened to me in 2003 when there was no COVID. I had my
Yep.
own personal battle. So there will always be challenges, but how do you deal with them? You
Hmm.
have to have your mechanism, whether you want to practice, meditation, you want to do yoga, you want to go for a walk, you want to have a support system, whatever works for you, music, you know, whatever
Hmm.
puts you into that space of mind. They say life, a straight line in an ECG is also not good news. So
Hmm.
deal with it.
True, true, true. So we'll come to closing the interview. We spoke about earlier on about when we were off before this interview started was fatigue. So it's fatigue into Zoom fatigue, COVID fatigue, as was somebody in the Q&A said. There's lockdown fatigue, there's COVID fatigue, and now Zoom fatigue. How does one deal with so many different types of fatigues?
I think but sometimes it's nice to just close your eyes, because we
Hmm.
are like looking into the screen all the time. Whether it's closing my eyes, I do a little bit of yoga. So then I play my chants of, this very peaceful, meditative music. You have to find your own space. You want to talk to whether it's your sister, your friend, you take a breather.
Hmm.
So, you have all these things. Again, it's back to, coping mechanism, Rohit. So
Hmm.
you have all this kind of fatigue, you figure it out. You take a
Hmm.
break, you have a cup of tea, you have a glass of wine,
Hmm.
relax. you know, and simply breathe. I think that works.
Yeah,
You should
obviously
just
breathe.
breathe.
If you're not going to breathe, you're going to die.
Yeah, but you'll be surprised, Rohit, that in all the courses that I've done,
Yeah.
they put the fancy names to it. In yoga, we call it like this, pranayama. Then I did another course recently, the deep diaphragmatic breathing. And they
Okay.
will keep talking about it. And the scientists who are telling you, they've done studies that you take this deep breath and after 10 minutes, you feel calm, your BP is better. So you and me, we know we are breathing, but there's a real science to that as
Yeah.
well.
Absolutely, absolutely right. So before we close, how can people get into contact with you in regards to the happiness chat, or even with your services, or just knowing about your book, where they can get it?
Okay, so if you Google on my full name, Shilpa Bhasin Mehra, there are lots of links, and my personal email ID is mehra_shilpa@hotmail.com. And Rohit, all your admirers can ask you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Shilpa, for being here. Truly, truly appreciate it. Um, Thank you, everyone who's joined us on Zoom, on Facebook Live. Truly appreciate it. So we've got Manjusha say something. COVID fatigue person was me. Wait times, I mean, how a pandemic can lead to such fatigue, which can affect at so many levels: financial fatigue, psychological fatigue, fear fatigue, and anxiety. Absolutely right. Just this one thing, COVID, has been a trigger to so many different things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's called the a ripple effect. It's
Yep.
just everywhere. And
Ev-
and and it's so funny because I have a Zoom call with her in 1 hour. So this is really
So,
funny.
another Zoom call.
Yes, it's been wonderful to be here,
Same here.
Rohit. It's been a breath of fresh air. We don't have.
Thank
It's
you.
not been like a conference. Nothing thought about. Just a conversation. It was lovely. Thank you
Thank
so much.
you. Really appreciate you being here with me. Truly appreciate for being a part of my audience as well. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
everyone.